Have you ever wondered why a government once passed a law telling black women how they were allowed to wear their hair? Not because of hygiene, not because of safety, because of beauty. In 1786 in colonial Louisiana, authorities created something called the Tignon Law. And it wasn't simply a fashion rule, it was a legal attempt to control the presence, power, and identity of black women. A city where race didn't follow simple rules. To understand the Tignon Law, you have to understand colonial New Orleans. In the late 1700s, Louisiana was under Spanish rule, governed by Esteban Rodríguez Miró. New Orleans was unlike most American cities. It had enslaved Africans, but it also had a growing population of free black women, known as gens de couleur libre. Many of these women were educated. Some owned property, some ran businesses, some were skilled artisans and merchants. They were visible, confident, and often extremely stylish. Their clothing was elaborate, their jewelry was elegant, and their hair, carefully braided, wrapped, and decorated, became a symbol of identity and pride. That visibility made colonial authorities uncomfortable. The problem wasn't fashion. Officially, the Tignon Law was framed as a matter of modesty and social order. Authorities claimed black women were dressing too extravagantly, too beautifully, too boldly. But historians have been clear about what was really happening. White colonial society was anxious. Free black women were gaining economic independence. They were visible in public spaces, and their presence complicated the racial hierarchy colonial leaders were trying to maintain. So the government responded the way systems of control often do, with a law, the Tignon Law of 1786. In 1786, Governor Miró issued an order requiring black women to cover their hair with a tignon, a cloth head wrap. The official justification? It would mark them as belonging to a lower social class. It would limit what authorities considered excessive display. But the message behind the law was unmistakable. Black women were being told, your beauty must be hidden, your visibility must be controlled, your identity must be marked. This wasn't simply about clothing, it was about racial governance. Controlling appearance meant controlling status, and controlling status meant protecting white supremacy. The irony. Here's the irony that history often forgets. The law backfired. Completely. Black women did not quietly comply in humiliation. Instead, they turned the tignon into something extraordinary. Rather than wearing simple cloth wraps, they created elaborate head wrap styles, bright fabrics, intricate folds, decorative arrangements that became fashion statements. Some women even adorned their tignons with jewelry, ribbons, and feathers. The law intended to suppress beauty. Black women transformed it into an art form. What was meant as humiliation became cultural expression. Resistance through style. In colonial New Orleans, the tignon quickly became something more than a legal requirement. It became a symbol of resilience. Black women carried themselves with dignity. They walked through markets, churches, and streets wearing wraps that were impossible to ignore. Visitors to the city wrote about the striking elegance of Creole women and their distinctive head wrap styles. Colonial authorities had attempted to erase presence. Instead, they had unintentionally created a cultural icon, a pattern of control. But the Tignon Law reveals something deeper about history. Systems of power often try to control people in subtle ways, not only through violence, but through appearance, hair, clothing, respectability rules. These methods shape how people are seen and how they are allowed to exist in public. The Tignon Law was an early example of that strategy, and it would echo across centuries. The modern connection. Even today, debates over black hair and professional appearance continue. Policies banning natural hairstyles, restrictions on braids, locks, and head wraps, rules about what is considered professional. These arguments often sound new, but they echo the same logic behind the Tignon Law of 1786, the policing of black identity. The discomfort with black beauty that refuses to hide. What history shows us. But history also shows something powerful. Attempts to control identity often produce the opposite effect. Black women did not disappear under the tignon. They transformed it. They redefined it. They turned a symbol of restriction into a symbol of creativity, dignity, and resistance. The legacy. Today, the tignon remains an important cultural symbol in Louisiana and throughout the African diaspora. Artists, historians, and cultural leaders continue to celebrate the tradition, not as a mark of oppression, but as proof of resilience. Because the women who wore those head wraps understood something systems of power often forget. You can write laws, you can impose rules, but you cannot erase identity and you cannot silence beauty. Subscribe and comment beauty if you'd like to hear more about the Tignon Law and Black cultural resistance. And go to my videos to see more. We don't glorify injustice. We reveal truth so history can't repeat itself.